5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please note that the following views and opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as medical nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time every Saturday and Sunday right here on realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, every Saturday and Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, on therealpublicradio.net, simulcast on youtube.com. Just do a search for The Forbidden History Series. The Forbidden History Series, 4 words, on Free America Radio Network.
Hello, welcome to our very special Basic Reset Health website on water hydration and nutrient regeneration. It is not just about drinking the proper amounts of water, but we also have to have the right amount of nutrients in the water to replenish our body's daily needs. As you will soon see in the main video, after you watch this short clip about making real money online with the Master Force Group. So instead of using the hit and miss learning process, why not work with a group of experienced and professional marketers, known as the Master Force Group, an international investment and radio broadcasting company, while you then immediately go right over to the center of this page and click on the blue button and watch the video on this remarkable water and nutritional product line called Basic Reset. Now don't sign up on this promotional website, but instead, call us for your free automatic sign-up and placement under one of our group partners, who is already in our lead share program called Downline Direct. It is people helping people. You are never obligated to promote or sell anything. Call us at 608-566-7295. That's 608-566-7295. Thank you for considering the Master Force Group and Basic Reset today. Get a 20% discount on your first order the moment you sign up.
Yes, and go to the website, ladies and gentlemen. Go to www.freeamerica.basicreset.com. That's 3Ws.freeamerica, as in freedom, freeamerica.basicreset, just like resetting your clock.com. Okay, and try the product, 20% discount. You can't ask for a better deal. And the bottom line, the product works. Minerals are the foundation of health. And the ionite product is the first thing you want to look at when you go there, okay? Any questions? Give us a call. We have a lead share program. So that means when you want to join, don't sign up on that website. Give us a call, and we'll put you under a friend of our broadcast company, and we can put you on a 3x5 card, and we'll sign people up under you as well as our network continues to grow, okay? So we're looking for grassroots support, and that's the way we can do it here. So thank you for doing that. Now stand by for the broadcast. You did tell your friends, didn't you? Well, you still got time to call them right now. The Forbidden History Series. Jack and Margie Flynn, Citizens of the American Constitution.net up next. And the KOLBRIN Bible. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's the Forbidden History Series, the piracy of words, the great lies of history, the other lost writings. And every Sunday night, Jack and Margie Flynn, Citizens of the American Constitution.net, and all of you out there, stand by for the broadcast. We have a special at the very top, a read, an excerpt from the KOLBRIN Bible. It's not really the Bible, but it is a Bible of Joseph of Arimathea, the great uncle of Jesus. And it's going to talk about the destroyer and what goes around comes around, okay? And I couldn't think of a more deserving world than we have right now for the destroyers. So forgive me, but if you want to join the broadcast whenever we broadcast live. You can do that through Skype. You can do a Skype search for Free America Radio. All one word, Free America Radio. Be glad to have you on our Skype account. And then you can text us your questions, or you can even call in. We can do a three-way. And that, again, is Free America Radio. The conference system is good to go when we broadcast. You can raise your hand on the conference line as well. And friends without computers can also listen on the conference line, 712-432-8773. PIN number 179-441-pound. That's 712-432-8773. PIN number 179-441-pound. And then the instant replay line, same number, just instead of the 3 at the end, it's a 4, 712-432-8774. Same PIN number, 179-441-pound. Then when prompted, hit 0 pound for the most current broadcast. Other than that, if you're looking at for a week or two later, then go for the date. Today is 6/11/17. That will be the code. Instead of the 0 pound, it'd be 6/11/17 pound when prompted on the instant replay line, okay? So I'd love to hear from you. And the problem is you don't ever call in, so we need to stop that and have you call in. We're totally listener driven. We hope that we can develop a call-in program here, because from my standpoint, I've answered all the questions that I need to answer from my knowing, okay? But a lot of you out there haven't figured it out yet. You're still stuck in the matrix. Even when you thought you figured something out, you still haven't figured it all out, and you're still trying to unravel the great mystery. So that's what we do here. We've got senior friends with Jack and Margie Flynn. They know the score. And I've got about 47 years of study of ancient history, of political science, and what is going on with our world, okay? So I'm Desert Owl, your host, and still time to call your friends, okay? You did call your friends? Okay, well, thanks for doing that. I sure appreciate it. We have friends on the stream right now, and we hope to see a few people on the conference line as we go on here. We got at least an hour or two, approximately at the most. We'll just see where we go. Be right back. And welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Desert Owl, a bird who sees in the night. And I'm looking for that proverbial blue pill. I've seen enough. I don't care to see anymore. And but the problem is, once you've woke up to the truth, there's no going back. There's nothing you can do but to well, actually, it's really good. I'd rather know the truth than be a couch potato, just drinking beer and eating potato chips, and thinking life is rosy, and that I'm some type of inanimate object that just goes back to dirt when it's all said and done. But we are eternal beings, ladies and gentlemen. We have spirit. We are the composite of two natures, one of material matter and the other of the etheric breath of pure energy that is consciousness, and that is the duality of our fabric. And so most people, they live like animals. They're just feeding their bodies and think that there's nothing to be concerned about. Well, the whole purpose on being on planet Earth is to figure it out and to realize that there's something bigger going on. It's not about Tammy and Bippy and what your neighbors are doing, or just entertainment. All the passions and pleasures that we are fed every day. There's something bigger in our picture. But we've been so deceived and lied to, of course, by the controllers, the media, and so they've got you under the spell, and you have to wake up. You are asleep, Neo. You are asleep. Wake up. Come to your senses and realize that we want to change the world. We'd all like to do that, but guess what? The world isn't going to change. It's the way it is the way it has always been. And so the only thing we can really change is ourselves, and we can then realize the potential that we have, like a rocket ship, to take off and transcend this world and not be caught up so dramatically in the illusion as if there were no hope. The good news is we are eternal. So some wonderful, deeply spiritual people have written throughout our entire legacy of our past, and periodically these writings come forward. And so I want to share one with you today, an excerpt from the KOLBRIN. Some people call it the KOLBRIN Bible, but it is the KOLBRIN. The KOLBRIN would be more correctly based on original. The KOLBRIN, the collection. Well, I'd have to go to my dictionary. I can't do all these words in my head. I have to go the KOLBRIN. But it means sort of like the collection of the first thoughts from beyond. That would be one aspect of that, and it is the most powerful read, from my view, next to the other classics, whether it's the scriptures in general. Of course, they've all been corrupted, and therefore they don't resonate with the original truth of what Yeshua spoke. But even the Confucius writings in Confucius, the philosophies of Buddha, that's all been corrupted. Even Confucius, his name wasn't Confucian. Okay. So it's all confusion now. But Socrates, he was a great consciousness for the people in Greece, and so there are sages throughout all ancient time trying to wake up their society, and then these things get covered up again, and how tragic that is. But let me bump up my window here in my computer so I can see the words a little better. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to read an excerpt. It's in my transliteration on the Gospel of Mark, because I was trying to use a document people were familiar with to introduce the Indo-Germanic mother tongue. And so I have a dictionary supporting this. So if you want a copy of this, any size donation on our PayPal account, contact at FreeAmericaRadio.com, and you'll get a copy of this. All right, I think you may want to have it. It's in the back in the appendix, and it's over 100 pages now. So it's already a classic collector's item and read, and you can get it by PDF through us, okay? So here it is, the appendix number 2, excerpt, The Cosmic Destroyer, Nemesis, and Nibiru. Men forget the days of the destroyer. Only the wise know where it went and where it will return in its appointed hour. It raged across the heavens in the days of wrath, and this was how it appeared. It was like a billowing cloud of smoke wrapped up in a rusty red glow, not clearly distinguishable in form. Its center was like a volcano's abyss, from which came out flame, smoke, and fiery hot cinders. When the ages pass, certain laws operate upon the stars of the cosmos. Their regularity changes, and then there is an imbalance. Things are no longer constant, and a great but lesser light appears within a red cloud, within our solar system. When rain like blood drops down upon the earth, the destroyer will soon appear, and volcanoes will open up and blast out fire and ash. Forests will be destroyed, with all standing and living things being consumed. Rivers and lakes will be swallowed up by the land, and the seas will crash in upon the land. The entire sky will burn dimly in a cloud of red iron oxide gas, and there will be laid down a copper hue over the face of the entire land. followed by a day of complete darkness. The people will all amble about in a complete chaotic frenzy. They will hear the trumpet and battle cry of the electric discharges coming from the destroyer down to earth, causing them to seek refuge within the caves and shelters of the earth. Terror will eat away at their hearts, and their courage will dissipate from them like water from a broken pitcher. They will be eaten up in these flames of wrath and then consumed by the breath of this destroyer. Now, here's the future predictions, and look how perfect it fits for today, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you, what goes around comes around, and this is not the first technological age, and they knew what it was back then would be like today because they know about the unseen hand running our world. Continuing, this is what it will be like in the days of this cosmic wrath, which has already occurred in the past. And it will be just the same when it comes again in the days of doom. The times of its visitation are well known to the watchers. These are the signs and times which will precede the destroyer's return. 110 generations will migrate towards the west, and many nation states will rise and fall. Now I've added a footnote, okay? 110 generations. If a generation is 50 years, that's 5,500 years, ladies and gentlemen. Well, guess what? It was 5,500 years ago, approximate, when the great flood of history, also known as Noah's flood, had occurred, when Africa and Europe split apart and the Mediterranean basin was filled up with the Atlantic Ocean and even doubled the size of the Black Sea. You see? That's even the same number in the Mayan calendar, 5,500 year cycle. Not the end of the world, the beginning of a new time and order, a cleansing. Continuing. This is when men will fly like birds in the air and swim under the water just like fish. Sounds like airplanes and submarines and scuba divers to me. Leaders will talk about peace with one another in great pretense. Yeah. While a great deceit will rule the day. Boy, if that isn't true today. Women will be like men and men like women, while the emotions and the passions will be the plaything of man. A nation of sorcerers will rise and fall. Can you say a cult? Secret societies? While their tongue will only be the speech of the initiated. Oh, sounds like the courtroom too. The secret handshake club, rubbing under your nose, pulling your earlobe. Words that change in the book of Black's Law Dictionary. A nation of lawgivers will rule the earth. Oh yeah, well, isn't that what they call them in Washington, lawgivers? A nation of lawgivers will rule the earth, then finally pass away into oblivion. Yeah, good riddance. One universal cult worship, there's Islam. One universal cult worship will migrate into the four corners of the earth while talking peace, but bringing war and hatred. The nation and culture that anciently claimed the seas. There's your Admiralty, there's your Phoenicians, there's your Celtic, there's your Canaanite. The nation and culture that anciently claimed the seas, the priesthood, always on the ship, the power broker, will be far greater than any other nation that claimed the land. And it will be just like an apple that is rotten to its core, that cannot be consumed. This craft nation of traitors, spell it the way you want to, will destroy men with amazing creations of technology that will rule the age. Computers, cell phones, games, toys, you name it. Keep you under mind control. This is when those of the higher class will be in a mixed war against the low, the North against the South, the east against the west, thus the light against the darkness. Men will be divided and split between their races, and their offspring will be like strangers even among them. Can you say bastards? Can you say welfare? Brother will fight against brother, and husband against wife. The fathers will no longer instruct their sons to be good men, and the sons will act indifferent and lost. Women will become like the common property of men and will no longer be held in a high regard and respected. This is when men will be relaxed within their thinking, and they will be seeking after things that have no real value or meaning. And a lack of true vision will cause them to know their own true nature. Which is emptiness. Some will possess great wealth, but be very poor in spirit. This is when the sky will reveal signs and the earth will split apart, move and quake, while men will shake in fear, while a terrible dread will walk along with them as the heralding of doom suddenly appears. Some will sneak softly as thieves going to rob a tomb, and some will fall victim to them, not being able to recognize for who they desperately are. For no one can be safe and trusted when the hour of the destroyer finally comes. In that time, men will have the great book opened up before them, and wisdom and with knowledge will be revealed, and only the few will be ready for the stand, as it is the true hour of trial. The fearless and determined ones will survive, and the strong-hearted will not go down to a total annihilation. The great God of all the ages, similar for most, who sets the bounds and trials for man, please be merciful to our little ones in these days of doom. Man at times must suffer and be challenged in order to be great, but do not quicken on his progress unduly, and in this great winnowing harvest, do not be too harsh on the lesser ones among men, because even this son of a thief has become your scribe. A truly foolish people, a foolish, lost generation. With dust on my head, I mourn for your ignorance. With a great mourning, I decry your folly. Yet the path that you have chosen freely. Relaxation and comforts appear to be your one true end and purpose. The gods and the preachers of deceit have great temples and cathedrals of the greatest architectures, while those of the craft are well dressed and overfed, while the great God of the truth has no more than a hidden cave, while his servants are dressed in rags and their bellies are empty. The gods of lust and cruelty have storehouses of great wealth, but the God of love and gentleness does not even have a field. The people worship the gods that oppress, while they ignore the God of love who frees. They give to the gods that take, while they turn from the God who gives. What a misguided generation. A truly blind and ignorant people, to embrace the gods of stone and of death, while they mock the great God of life. A truly misguided and misled generation, to hold tightly to their breasts the things that inherit rust and decay, while you shun the things that allow you to inherit your everlasting estate. So let the destroyer come, as the tornado of a desolate and wasted land. In the dreaded day of its appearance, The works of your ignorance will go down as an everlasting memorial for mankind. The KOLBRIN from the Book of Manuscripts. Original thought, transliteration. I'm Desert Owl. Thank you for listening to that. We're just going to take a quick moment, 1 minute, and we'll be right back with Jack and Margie Flynn, citizens of the American Constitution.net. And by the way, you want to stay tuned because we'll give another sample reading out of the KOLBRIN after our conversations are through with Jack and Margie Flynn. Okay, so we'll go a little further down the rabbit hole on some of the most profound revelations about our past and our present and our future. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. And you'll notice the page of the KOLBRIN on the scroll that periodically pops up. It's a red copper sheet that's a bit decayed. On the scrolling graphics, you'll see the one of the many hundreds of pages of the bronze sheets of the KOLBRIN. Be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to the Forbidden History series, the other lost writings, the piracy of words, and Sunday night we have Jack and Margie Flynn, citizens of the American Constitution.net. And by the way, starting next Saturday, I'll be doing a Forbidden History presentation with my friend Bob Gavitt, longtime friend, and he's going to be interviewing me on the real Da Vinci Code etymological dictionary and thesaurus on the Indo-Germanic mother tongue. He's rather blown away by it, and so he's agreed to ask me questions about the original thought, a term that I have coined based on my discovery of the original Indo-Germanic mother tongue, which is common to basically all the European tongues. I don't care which one you name, and even in the Hindu misnomer as pseudo, is what I call pseudo Sanskrit. So we'll be doing a comparison of the original based on our modern, and we're speaking the code, but nobody knows how to interpret it. So stand by for that broadcast Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And now, without any further delay, let's bring on our special friends, longtime friends now. And I had a first interview with them about, 12 years ago, maybe, give or take. And the very day I bumped into them, and as they say, the rest is history. So Jack and Margie Flynn, are you there? Come in, Margie. Jack,
Hi, Desert.
you're there.
I'm here.
Okay, I was just getting a chill going through my body. What's going on here? All right.
Yeah, we're sharing a headset and mic tonight to try to get some better sound quality. So I hope this is going to do it for
Oh,
us because
you're right in my office here. Okay, it's perfect. So very good.
good.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's good to know.
So were you able to hear my presentation with the read? Were you able to listen to all that?
Yes, I listened to the read, and it's very chilling to see how prescient the words from that KOLBRIN read truly are, how reflective they are of the way the world is today, and seems to be getting worse and darker by the moment. It's quite astounding. And I think most people on this planet, if they're really honest with themselves, would say something is really wrong. And as a species, we have to look inside and see what can we do to change the course of planet Earth. There may be nothing we can do about the destroyer, but maybe we can do something about our personal selves, the way we view life and the way we connect to our Creator. I don't know. I hope we can because
Yeah, yeah. I just can't get over those Muslims, and basically what the way I see it is because I've been following stuff, of course, as you have for a long time, and so I see that these people that are consistently blowing themselves up and committing hara-kiri while taking other people out with their automobiles and their knives, willing to be shot dead right there on that very final act that they commit.
yes,
They've got a nation of pre-programmed, spoon-fed, mind-controlled automatons that were raised from cradle, and that's
yes,
why they're so perfect in their willingness to die. They are literally convinced that they go to some reward for committing mayhem and destroying lives on planet Earth. The ultimate psychopathic instrument that we could ever have dreamed of, Margie. Mind control.
yes.
Yeah.
And his mind control on multiple levels. It is so sophisticated that I think the average guy doesn't understand just how bad it is. It sounds like something out of a science fiction novel, what's going on the planet today. And it's been going on for a long time, but the average person doesn't know anything about it. They think it's conspiracy theory, wacko
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
it isn't.
Yeah, Margie,
It's
just a little footnote. When remember I went through a major ordeal that gave me the record for the longest case in West Virginia's
yes.
history, right? And I was incarcerated
Yep.
for 26 months. I never, of course, went to prison, 2 trials. I walked out the front door at the second trial,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to good people that came forward, including a 32nd degree Mason and a special investigator in the sheriff's department. All good people came forward knowing I was being railroaded by the criminal element within their own government, local. And but so I don't want to lose my thought now. Where was I going with this? It was about mind control. Senate, gee whiz. The fact that okay, I had the record for long. Gee, Margie, I'm getting old. Talk about senior moment. Okay, I'm going to remember. You keep rolling, and where you're going with your thoughts, and I'll pick up on
Okay.
here in a second.
Where I was going with my thoughts is that the mind control, the obvious thing, the thing that most people might say, well, maybe, would go to the programming that people are exposed to every day
Yeah.
in terms of TV, radio, movies, internet, etc. But it's even more sinister and insidious than that
Hmm.
because they can literally put thoughts into people's minds and literally program their thinking patterns so that people think that the ideas and messages coming through are from their own mind when in fact it's coming in from a very dastardly source. And that's something that most people don't know and probably don't want to know.
Right.
It's a little scary.
Yeah, they're asleep. They're in the alpha state,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed something when and I'm still trying to remember my thought. I can't get over. But I remember my daughter. Okay, she as a little girl playing on the living room floor, and we'd have the television on, and she'd be playing, just doing her own little thing. But every time the commercial would come on, Marky, she would
Yes.
stop and look at the commercial. She'd stop whatever she was doing.
Yes.
And I noticed that. So this commercial really must have had some subliminal stuff going on there because it draw their attention right in. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for decades.
Mhm.
And I mean, I don't think how many average people, just regular mom and pops, think about how much programming literally has been done to themselves and their children just day by day, just watching the idiot box.
Mhm.
It's frightening beyond even comparison
And
because
what?
most people don't know.
Yeah. Well, okay. I remember now where I was going because we were talking about the Muslim thing and the ultimate mind control. So I had an inside view during that 26 months of torture and defamation of character and and the ultimate word framing. Nobody knows what it means to be framed until you've
Hmm.
been framed, and it is quite a picture that you're put in. Well, in that process of being in that northern regional jail there in Virginia,
Hmm.
then you see a lot of people come and go. People come out of prison, go into trial, then they go back and stuff. And I played chess with a lot of them as well. That was my pastime, playing chess, and I got real good at it, in fact. But so then there was one criminal element that came into the regional jail, and he was a Muslim. Okay, and he has a wife and like three kids. I even saw the pictures of his kids wearing their camel attire, for living out in the desert, and the cute little kids. But this guy, on top of having a regular family as a Muslim, he then is a drug dealer, and he's hanging out with another woman in a motel, snorting cocaine and partying it up and what have you, have whatever. And so it turned out that this woman in the wheelchair that was his party friend
Hmm.
uh, was an FBI informant, and so he figured it out while they're in the hotels and he's snorting cocaine. And to show you the mindset of these people, Margie, he once he understood that she had betrayed him, his trust, he then had stabbed her and tortured her over 300 times,
God.
cutting off parts of her body, poking out her eyes, and
Ugh,
doing the most heinous, regimented acts of torture on a helpless woman in a wheelchair. And then, of
dear
course, he
God.
got arrested, and he was in there. So I literally, I figured I had nothing to lose, so I didn't like the scumbag. You know what I mean? But in there, as they
Hmm.
say, when people are in prison, they don't get caught up in each other's ordeal. And so I pretended to befriend him in a way where I didn't play chess with him or nothing, but I just would talk to him, and
Yeah.
we even had a face off one day in the pod over the television thing. I just wouldn't turn the sound down, and I ignored him, and it was funny. Then he comes up to my room and he says, "Look, you and I are desert. You and I shouldn't fight. We're both intellectuals. I mean, give me a break, right?
Yes,
Both intellectual.
seriously.
Yeah, that's how he was thinking, right? And so that gives you. So what the irony of the story, Marky, when I was going into my last day to my final court hearing in the second trial, and I get in the van. There's only one other party in the van going to his first trial, and it's this scumbag Islamic terrorist who is going to his first trial, and I'm set free. And in that week he went to trial, he goes up the river for life. Good riddance.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So I had a firsthand, view of these people, how they have no compassion, they have no love. Their whole protocol is based on hatred. They've declared us enemies, even when we have not declared them enemies, and could
That's
live in
right.
peace.
Well, all of the idea about it being a religion of peace, for instance, is in the Islamic view, I think is a tragic misunderstanding because if you look at the Quran, it's a pretty violent book. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what Muhammad was on when he supposedly wrote the book, but he isn't anybody that I could, in my wildest dreams, revere or respect. And I think Americans are beginning to maybe for the first time in probably a long time recognize that there is something to be concerned about with the increasing numbers in this country. And I think if we go back to what our president has been trying to do, i.e., bring immigration under some kind of real uh, control and investigation and restriction, we really should have done that a long, long time ago. And
Yeah.
yet there are people still arguing about that. I don't know if you
Yeah.
saw the headlines today about the marching that's going on that's anti-Sharia law. Did you see
Oh yeah,
those
yeah. I was
headlines?
watching some of the clips last night around the
Yeah,
country. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And apparently in Seattle, they had to get the cops out with pepper spray because some far leftists were out there and they were heckling and throwing stuff
Yeah.
at the marches. And I guess it happened in North Carolina too. And there's plans for other marches and plans for backlash from the lefties. And
Yes.
I think they're just trying to stir the pot. You know, it's a sad situation that people are so busy fighting amongst themselves that they're not seeing what the bosses are doing at the top.
Oh yeah,
You know?
the controllers, and see the irony is that the joke is really on the Muslims, Margie, and they don't get it because the
No,
priesthood are pulling their string. They're on the string,
absolutely.
just like Judaism, just like Christianity, and I'm talking about the milk toast Christianity of, under
Yeah.
the spell of Jesuits and Freemasons who controlled all the translations and everything, but
Oh yeah.
and again got them under the spell. And so the same with Islam. That now you notice how they got one faction of Islam with Iran fighting against the other faction of Islam in Saudi Arabia,
Hmm.
and they just blew up the parliament, or in Iran, and so in other words, this whole strategy of divide and conquer, because in the end, after they're done using the Muslims, then they're going to destroy them as well. They'll be on the last rail car, right?
Sure.
And yeah, and,
Absolutely.
and so just like they divided the North and the South, as we read just in the KOLBRIN, it described it perfectly. They put East against West, Muslim
Hmm.
against Muslim,
Yeah.
Christian against Christian. They get all fat. They control everything. They've been doing it artfully for thousands of years. Nothing new under the sun. And so it was ironic because I was watching some of the clips of the news on some of these wonderful researchers on YouTube, and there's a guy talking about in Qatar now that's being isolated by
Yeah.
Muslims isolating Muslims
Hmm.
and starving them out, and he's saying, how can these be Muslims be starving out Muslims? He's all confused now. I thought we were a brotherhood. No, there is no brotherhood in among thieves and liars and robbers and rapers and thieves. There is
No,
no
there isn't.
brotherhood.
But you have to understand the brilliance and the perfidy of the people behind it. I mean, if you look at the big picture, you can easily tell who benefits from all of this, what particular group. Okay,
Yeah,
and I think we know that the group has to do with another country in the Middle East that's supposed to be one of our best allies. Haha.
yeah,
And they're rabid Zionist. I have to call them world shakers because that's what they are. They own almost everything that's institutional on the planet. And it serves their purpose well to have everybody fighting amongst themselves. And you're right, they're using the Muslims, and the Muslims are going to be tossed in the cars with the rest of the poor people going to the camps, or worse. Who knows how it's going to play out because they
yeah,
have their own multiple level games being orchestrated as we speak. So there's no mistake here. But the irony behind even the irony is that even these beings, these new worlders, and you can call them communist, Zionist, whatever you want to call them, they're still the tools of somebody else. And our view is that these somebody else aren't even on our planet, that they're off planet. And some of them are here now, and some of them have been here in the past. But they manipulated us as a species hundreds of thousands of years ago, and they're still calling the shots. And their payoff to these other earth beings is power, money, control, wealth, fame, whatever you want to call it. And they're doing the bidding of their off-planet masters. And the human beings on the planet mean absolutely nothing to any of these people. To their servants on planet and to the off-planet people, we mean nothing. We're like, ants in an ant farm to them. And to me, it's unconscionable that any living being could treat another living being the way the people on this earth have been treated for eons and are still being treated now, no matter what we call ourselves as civilized or in progress of civilization. We're kidding ourselves. We're still barbarians.
yeah. Well, no doubt about that. And
Yes.
well, we've got the listeners on the stream, and if anybody wants to join the conversation, you can. We're on Skype, Free America Radio, all one word. Join us, or the phone number is always on the website, therealpublicradio.net, three W's dot the real publicradio.net. Okay, and there's the 712 number always on the website. But we'd love to hear from you. Conference line *5 does raise your hand on the conference line.
Right.
And we're talking to Jack and Margie Flynn, Citizens of the American Constitution.net. Margie, back to you.
Well, I think one of the worst results of all of the brutality on the planet is that people are living in what they used to call future shock. Things are so crazy, they're so chaotic, there's so much mayhem going on that I think our psyches, individually and collectively, are just fragmented. They're shutting down. And I think it has a lot to do with keeping the average guy from being able to recognize what's happening. It's almost like there's a filter over their eyes. There's a block in their heads that doesn't allow them, that cognitive dissonance, the disconnect. Mm-hmm. And so they go forward day by day. They put one foot in front of the other. They drive the car to work. And they do all the things they're supposed to do. But they're not fully engaged, because if they were to look left or right or up and down, they would see things that would scare the you-know-what out of them. Mm-hmm. So they don't. And this works perfectly with the plans of the gurus that run the show, because no one gets motivated enough to say, wait a minute, there's more of us than there are of them. Why aren't we banding together as a species? Why aren't we looking at real viable ways of stopping this insanity? Why are we allowing this small number of beings to dictate to billions of people on the planet? I mean, if you look at it from a logical point of view, it makes no sense. Yeah. And yet the human beings just let it happen. And it's not just the Americans. It's happening all over the planet.
Yeah, it's people the same strategy universally. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
It's the same strategy universally, same techniques played in.
Yes, it is. Divide and conquer. Keep people so tired, so exhausted, so shocked from one horrible situation and totally in fear and anxiety that they don't have too much time to do any real critical thinking. It's not happening.
Yeah, well, they're slaves on a 9-to-5, 40-hour-a-week schedule, and by the time they get to the next Monday again, they're broke. They have to do the 40 hours all over again. And
that's if they're lucky.
They're on the treadmill.
If they can live on it.
Yeah.
They're on a treadmill, and some people are on double treadmills, because I know a lot of people whose husbands or wives are working more than one job because their 40-hour-a-week isn't quite cutting it, and they've got extra bills to pay, or medical things come up, or what have you. So when you look at it, the average guy doesn't have a lot of time to ponder and connect the dots.
I worked real hard to get into trucking, and then I worked my way up to chemical tanker, hazardous material, 18-wheeler, and I drove around the ship channel area, Houston, and went into Louisiana with chemicals, and I thought, well, gee, by the time I get to chemical transport, I'll be making good money. Well, the only reason you're making good money is because I was working. They taught, after they teach you how to do all the rules and regulations, then they told me, to log off while I'm actually working. And so in theory, it looked like I only had a 70 hours or something in 8 days. But literally, I was working because they taught me how to lie on my logbook to keep me out there. 120 hours a week, Margie. 3 times more than the average Joe. That's why we made good money in trucking.
That's crazy. People cannot keep up a pace like that.
Yeah.
And it's nuts, and it's dangerous. And it's not like you're dealing with, lightweight
hazardous material.
And driving an automobile or a truck is, to me, in itself, a potentially dangerous occupation.
I had a portable TV I put on my dashboard while I'm going down the interstate at 60 miles an hour, hauling hazardous materials with my foot on the dashboard, driving with one leg and one arm, watching television.
That's amazing. Wow. Looking back at that, you have to have had an angel on your shoulder to keep you safe, Desert.
I lived in a truck, Margie. That's all I can say. You live in a truck, you learn how to do things, right?
Yeah, I guess. But still, I mean, that gets to you after a while. And why should any human being have to work and toil and slave like that? Why should we have to be slaves to a monetary system that is pernicious on every level possible? Why haven't we figured this one out? I mean, really, if we had any clue about how our country was supposed to be run and how our banking system is supposed to be run, then we would not have been under the thumb of these bankers all these years.
Okay, now, hold on. I'm getting a message from my conference system. Somebody pressed a button. Okay. We'll just let those go out. Okay, thank you very much for that public service announcement. Now back to Margie Flynn. Okay, Margie. Stuff
um,
happens.
I think I was, no problem. I was just saying that if we had a clue as a people about how our country was supposed to be run, how our banking system was supposed to be run, we would not have been living under the boot, the jackboot of this Federal Reserve System, which is a total fraud, using their phony debt-based currency all of these many decades, whereby we just get further and further into debt. We're not really, producing any individual or even collective wealth because everything is basically mortgaged to the company store.
Right.
And it was all done unconstitutionally. And yet no one in this country seems to want to even talk about it. And Ron Paul, I know, I'll say he's been talking about it for a long, long time. But he really hasn't pushed the right buttons, in my view. It's been kind of like Mr. Milquetoast. He says the right things, but he hasn't really gotten militant about it,
They've always controlled both sides, Margie. I've got pictures of them giving the secret owl symbol, the pinky and the index finger. So I figure he's one of the minions.
He's one of the boys, yes. But the thing is, the average guy, they're happily distracted. Well, we've got this guy on our side, and there, folks, there's no one on our side, really, no one. Now, I don't know about our presidente. I don't know what his total game is, what his agenda is. He might be real. He might be partly real. He might just be another tool in the shed for the boys. I don't know. But the American people have a lot of explaining to do because they have allowed this kind of ridiculous control and complete abuse of everything that's supposed to be American and constitutional by their refusal to pay attention to what's going on. I mean, when you get a country that's supposed to be self-governing and it's, supposed to be egalitarian and you're supposed to get equal treatment under the law, and none of those things are present publicly or even personally in people's lives, it would behoove the people to say, well, why? And what is wrong? Why did we not stop this sooner? And can we stop it now? And my answer is yes, we can. It's never too late to correct a wrong. However, if you don't know that the wrong exists and you don't know the nature of the wrong in existence, you're never going to make a change. And I think the American people are just so brain dead. They don't seem to even care enough to want to try to change anything, no matter how miserable they are. And they're miserable.
Sure. Well, Margie, it's a maxim of law that says that which is first is superior. First in time, right? First in time. So, So apparently the Illuminatis founded America on May 1st, 1776, and then we got the July, the banking Jewish banking lie, July 4th, as our Independence Day. But apparently we were trumped by the Illuminati, so it was always a double, what do you want to say? Two-tiered system, right? And the Federalists apparently, if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the Federalists were more like the bad guys, and then there were those in opposition of the Federalists, and there was this battle going on. But and some people were insiders, some were outsiders. So I think these secret agents were always here, and therefore we never really had a chance. That's why it's always been bad and getting worse, never getting better.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, it was always the superficiality of opportunity. But in reality, it was a rigged game. It's been rigged from the very beginning. We're part of the grand experiment. And the folks behind the scenes, all the way up the echelons to the off planets, they must have a really good time laughing at all of the poor morons, working their tails off.
Laughing all the way to their banks, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And the people certainly aren't laughing to their banks. They're lucky they can put a few bucks together to scrape in and put in a savings account. It's pathetic.
Just like on Wall Street, where they monetize their birth certificate, then apparently it goes on some international exchange. Wall Street used to be the wall where they sold slaves, black
that's right.
slaves in America, and now we're the slaves on Wall Street being monetized through the commercial racket of the court system today.
Yes, well, the slaves weren't all black. There were a lot of white slaves, too, and I don't just mean indentured servants. People got sent here, often if they had a choice of, going to prison or coming here or to Australia. They didn't have any real choice. They basically came here and were worked to death, for the corporations, for the mills, whatever.
They were peons. That was called peonage, right?
That's right, and we're still peons. We just don't know it. We've
Yeah.
been treated. We get a couple of little bennies every now and then, and people feel like, oh,
Yeah.
I've made it. I've got a BMW, or I drive a Mercedes. I have a big
Yeah.
house on the beach. But that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Doesn't mean a thing.
Yeah, that's why, because my impression of people in Europe would be that these are people of much higher quality and character than those in the U.S. based on our educational
Yeah.
education system. But again, isn't it true that they're also called Europeans?
Yes, there you go.
There
They
you
are
go.
Europeans. And you're right about the fact that in many respects their education was better. But I think even that disparity is ending because the younger generations coming up, whether here or across the sea, are a totally different breed. And they're not going to be what you would call critical thinkers or people with independent thinking processes functioning. It's
Yeah.
not happening.
Hmm.
I just saw something that was kind of amusing but sad at the same time. It was a commentary by somebody talking about Hillary's campaign and how her voters were stupid, and how many of her young voters, college-age students that voted for her and believed every word she had to say. Many of these are from the student generation, which came to be something like 50% of the students in universities cannot pass a critical thinking test. They cannot demonstrate critical thinking, make independent thoughts, isolate and assess what's being said in front of them, and come up with some kind of a cogent
Yeah.
answer. And I thought to myself, I've seen this in people for a very long time, but it was interesting to see that somebody actually conducted some kind of a test and survey about it.
Yeah.
Because what kind of future is that for our country or any country where young people, they're regurgitating knowledge, facts, or whatever, but they can't apply it because they can't think for themselves? It's
Yeah.
pretty scary.
I think it's best expressed like in this these rallies this weekend that were going on.
Hmm.
And then there was the opposition, and the opposition had their chants, right? The ja 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 ja. That their whole intellect is based upon a chant, defining something that isn't real through the chant, because they're also handled by their controllers. And I saw the one handler in one of the crowds, and she was actually wearing a burqa, not a covering of the face, but a covering of her head.
Hmm.
That may be the Habib or something. I mean, I get lost in some of these
I do too.
things, right? But anyway, she was like turning around saying, "Okay, let's do this now." And so the one wearing the headdress was organizing all of these stupid, like you say, college, grade children who literally know nothing other than somebody, made a statement one day that sounded pretty good to them, but they never did their own homework or research, and therefore, because they're good slaves and do what they're told to do, they said, "Let's get on this campaign and we'll start chanting." And the chant becomes like the algorithm of some type of mantra for a religion, and
Hmm.
they feel so powerful because they're chanting the mantra, when the truth is they have no idea that they're the fascists and they're bringing our world down, and they're going to be the first ones on the chopping block.
There you go. It's almost as if they've been entrained. That kind of thing is hypnotic. Okay. It mesmerizes people. And they're not even capable. If you asked them what they were talking about, they could not articulate a single sentence to explain what was really going on. That's what's ridiculous and frightening.
Yeah.
They can react, which is what they're doing, and they can pretend and they can mimic, but they cannot come up with independent thoughts. I mean, even during the campaign, when young people were protesting against Trump and complaining, when one of the reporters asked a few of them if they could articulate what their issues were, they couldn't even talk. They were completely inarticulate, unable to express two or three thoughts together in a sentence. And I thought to myself, holy cow, these are college kids? My grandkid, at 10 or 11 years old, she's more articulate than this 19, 20-year-old kid was.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. I can't get over it. Homosexuals and women for Islam. If that isn't the biggest joke on earth, I don't know what is,
I mean, you can't make this stuff up, Desert.
No.
Who in their right mind, what person in their right mind, gay or woman, would be chanting for Islam? Because Islam is a suppressor of women and a murderer of gays.
Yeah.
Come on.
And
You know,
pedophiles. Let's not leave out pedophiles,
oh,
okay?
sorry, I wouldn't want to leave any group out because they might be offended and get hurt, and they'd have to go to a
Yeah.
safe space to
The,
recover. You know.
you know, it was 10 years ago I was getting the emails from our wonderful info wizard, Peter.
Yeah.
And and um
Yeah.
and 10 years ago I remember seeing lines in the Middle East, lines of men, adult men lined up with 3-year-old and 5-year-old girls getting married.
Oh God.
There's
Yeah.
your mind
Oh.
control again, right? Because that's why these women in the burqas are so willing to obey. They had them since they were 3 and 5 years old.
Yeah, completely suppressed as beings. They have no independence,
No,
no way of being a separate individual. They've been
slaves.
controlled their whole like a slave. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's to me that is it's criminal. It shouldn't be allowed. No so-called religion on this earth, no philosophy on this earth should ever do that to another human being. Never. And yet, in their mind, it's perfectly fine. So yeah, I mean, for those people to be pro-Islam and chanting this is absolutely insane. You know, the nuts are just all around us.
Yeah, yeah, we're in the Animal House,
We are.
and Margie, it's not been good for me, because I just literally I just had days when I just thought about getting the rope, and I've hung in there for like 15 years now, and so I've got a pretty good record of resistance. But it's like the more you know the truth, the more isolated you feel. I don't have really. You know what I'm saying here, socially, locally, there is nobody to talk to about this stuff. Thank you for being such wonderful people and friends, but it's like we're such an exclusive group because for some reason we just couldn't fit in the mold, and we broke the mold for mind control and all that.
Greetings, Desert. It's Jack.
Hey Jack, good to have Marky mentioned those Jack boots, and all of a sudden, wait a minute, we got Jack standing by. What's the deal with Jack boots, Jack?
I have a few Jack boots downstairs.
That's right.
I
You've
don't
got your
use
own
them.
version of them there, right?
Yeah, I don't use them very much, though. Desert, Margie and I are bottom line people.
Yeah.
And the bottom line is the most important thing because once you get there, you know exactly where you are.
Yeah.
If one never gets to the bottom line, he never knows where the hell he is.
Yeah.
And the bottom line in this country and in this world is it's all total, complete bullshit.
I knew that word was coming, Jack. Real quick, were you able to listen to both sides of us when we were talking on your setup?
Yes, I
Okay.
heard you.
Oh, wonderful, great. Okay, go ahead. Please continue. Yeah.
It's all bullshit. It's all fraud, and the entire system is ruled by evil in all areas. Okay, that's the bottom line. Now, if people don't believe that, then they're not living in reality. And most people on this planet do not live in reality. They live in a perceived reality that, let's say, accommodates their own belief system or their own fantasy system. They don't live in the real world. They think they live in the real world. But perception of reality is not reality. Illusion of reality is not reality. Appearance of fact is not fact. Okay? We really must get to the bottom line. And the second position in that bottom line is that the people of this world forever have succumbed to that bullshit, that fraud, and that evil. Forever. From the very beginning. Well, maybe not in the very beginning. Maybe there was a period of 500,000 years or so in which that was not the case. But for a very long time, I'd say for at least 500,000 years or more, people have been buying the nonsense and doing zero against it. Well, if you've got, let's say, 500,000 years of society accepting all evil and all unconscionable actions, and all actions that harm humanity instead of helping humanity, that's built up into the bones, that's built up into the RNA, the DNA, the memory, the muscle fiber, this ridiculous karmic system that we're in, which is pure, absolute evil from my point of view. Karma is absolute evil. Reincarnation is absolute evil from my point of view. I know a lot of people would disagree with that, but if you take a look at it, what the hell is it?
Well,
You know, I'm an individual. Why should I pay for the crimes committed by some guy 500 years ago? Okay, I had nothing to do with that. That had nothing to do with me.
yeah.
I'm an individual in this world at this time. He was an individual in that world at that time. If you want him to pay for his crimes, dig up his bones and burn them and leave me the hell out
They
of it.
did that with
Leave
Wycliffe,
me
I
out of
think. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So we as a people have aided and abetted the fraud and the evil and the bullshit from the very beginning. We fought all the wars. We fought all the unconscionable wars, all the unconstitutional wars. We've obeyed all the unlawful laws, the unconstitutional laws in this country. Okay?
Like turning your gold. Go ahead.
Turn in your gold, turn it in for $20. Okay? And now we're going to sell it for $35. What a deal, huh? I mean, the people just don't get it. And they don't get it to the extent that Margie and I are just sick of
Yeah.
the people.
You know what? If
We
they would have said, Jack, if they would have said turn in your furniture, I think the people would have figured it out, right?
I don't think the people will ever figure out anything.
They may have turned in their
It,
furniture, right?
yeah, right. There's a certain percentage that get it.
Yeah.
Okay, I admit that. You know that. I know that. Your listeners know that. There's a certain percentage that get it. But that percentage is so small and so minute that it has no presence whatsoever. It can't even be measured on any measurement scale. And as long as the overwhelming majority is willing to support the fraud, the evil, and the unconstitutional, treasonous actions committed by our government millions of times each and every day, it's going to continue. What the hell's going to stop
Yeah.
it? Nothing's going to stop it. The only thing that can stop it is the people. Okay? The people personified. The people personified have always, from the very beginning of this nation, supported the evil, supported the fraud, supported the torture, supported the warfare. When the hell are they ever going to, stop supporting that? My answer is never. Never. They're not. Okay? So Margie and I feel pity for the people. We have concern for the people. As you know, we tried to help the people for well over 60 years. It got to be too much because people just weren't getting it. And they wanted us to do all their work for them. They wanted to sit back and do nothing and have us do all their work and shoot the magic bullet and get them all out of all sorts of problems. Well, that's not taking a responsible position. We're all responsible, okay? And when we're not responsible, we pay for it. Now, as a human being, we can't be perfect. None of us are perfect, okay? I can tell you I made so many mistakes that I could be crowned the king of mistakes. I have been irresponsible in certain arenas, and I openly admit it. And guess what? I paid for that irresponsibility, okay? That's on a personal basis. But on a universal basis, the entire society is irresponsible. They don't take any position in helping themselves whatsoever. So if they don't do that, the people who control us, and as Margie said, a lot of them are off this world, as we've discussed before, are going to do exactly what they want. That's just the way it is, my friend. I'd like to see it change, but Margie and I deal in the truth and we deal in facts. We don't deal in wishful thinking. We don't deal in fantasy. Now, at the same time, we're positive people. We're positive thinking people. But even positive thinking people must face the facts and must face the truth and admit to it. If we don't do that, we're deluding ourselves. We're dealing in fantasy, and we don't go there. We stay away from that.
I hear you, Jack. Well, I think it was your best friends, your pets, that got you back into the arena back when you were in New Mexico, and therefore then you whipped up on the local establishment and taught them a lesson, and then you got the big following again, right? That's sort of, you were like private and just getting on with your lives, right?
We had been so busy for most of our lives that when Margie and I got together 25 years ago, we just wanted to forget the world, literally forget the world, retire, write our poetry, write our books, do some essays and things of that nature, and just forget life. It didn't work that way, and you're right. We got brought right back into it, and it was through the pets because we love animals. I mean, my God, we love our animals.
And they went after you because your dogs were what? Not on a leash or didn't have a license or something?
Well, we were fostering dogs, okay? Because the community in which we live, Las Vegas, New Mexico, excuse me, Las Vegas, New Mexico, had a bunch of dogs because people do not know how to take care of their pets. So there were dogs running all over the place there. And the shelter was a high kill shelter. So we fostered a lot of dogs so they wouldn't get killed. And that's what caused the problem. Okay. But we beat that case. We beat every case we ever had in New Mexico. Okay.
Yes.
Every one we ever had, hundreds of alone in New Mexico and thousands across the land. Now, not us, but our people who actually did our work, who used the Constitution as the Constitution was designed to be used. But unfortunately, the American people don't use the Constitution.
Yeah.
You know, they may talk about it, but talk is cheap, does it? Okay. We say talk walks and actions speak volumes. And many people talk, but they don't act. So we don't listen to the talk. We only see the action. You know, like I explained to you years ago, I played a lot of sports, and some guy would come in, a new recruit, and he said, "Oh, I played here and I played there," and you know, we'd throw him a few passes, and you know, he dropped all of them. See you later. Forget the talk. Forget the talk. Let's see the action. And the action is in the ring. It's in football. It's in baseball. It's in the law. It's in business. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, forget the talk.
Right.
Deal with the action.
But Jack,
okay. Go ahead.
Well, Jack, I'm intrigued because and you always use sports as your analysis, and I like that because that's you know, like Christ, to use natural reflections in nature and all that, an illustration that helped you to get a picture. So what I know that you and Margie got together, you know, about 25 years ago, and you know, and you probably both were married prior to that and all that. But what like for you, because you can only, you know, speak for yourself, where did you get the depth that allowed you to figure out the you know, the the presumptive letters and the affidavit? In other words, you went to college, you grew up in a very deep rooted American heritage. Your families go way back to you know, the John Adams.
Yes, the Adams.
Right,
Adams
right.
and
you know,
earlier.
so you've got the American heritage behind you. But what was it that gave you the sophistication and the ability to immediately pull together the process that allowed you to defeat the de facto fraud that was encroached upon our land? How did that happen, Jack?
Well, to answer that, I would have to go back to the position that I mentioned before. Margie and I deal in facts and we deal in truth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And we always use facts and truth as the basis for our argument, and the authority of the Constitution as the basis for our argument.
Yes.
So I think I mentioned before, you had asked me when I really started this. I was 14 years of age. I was a freshman at Boston Latin School, okay, in Boston. And one of my mentors was Robert Welsh of the John Birch Society.
Okay.
And another was Joe McCarthy, the senator from Wisconsin.
So you already woke up at 14 years old, basically, right?
Oh, before that, I think I came out of the womb awake.
Okay.
Because as a little kid, I grew up during the Second World War as a little kid, okay?
Yeah. All right.
And I'm saying, this is insane. These people in America and Europe are supposed to be Christians. Thou shalt not kill, okay? They're killing each other on the land.
Yeah.
They're killing each other on the sea, under the sea, in the air, everywhere. I mean, it's insane.
Right, but what about John Birch? Did they already tip you off that Roosevelt was an Illuminati front and that they betrayed the people in Hawaii and all those military and killed them purposely? Did you know that?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I knew that from the beginning.
Right out the gate. Really?
They confirmed a lot of the things I knew because I did a lot of research. I'm an avid reader. You know that. I've told you we've read probably, I don't know how many tens of thousands of books Mark and I have read. before we
Yeah.
ever met each other, and we read voluminously now. So,
Yeah.
and we're researchers. We do a lot of research, and we don't do the phony research.
Yeah.
We do the real research because there's so much bullshit out there that brings you down the primrose path that we don't even pay attention to that. We try to get to valid sources. So, to answer your question, truth, fact, correct law, which is the Constitution, okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you look at government, government doesn't deal in truth, fact, and correct law. Government does not uphold the Constitution. Government does not uphold rights guaranteed in the Constitution
And they
and
give a
due
lip service
process of
every
law.
day, right? Go ahead.
That's correct. That's correct. So when I was 14 years of age, I wrote my first presumptive letter. Okay,
Wow.
and I used the same paragraph then, modified a little bit, as we've used, over the years for the past 60 odd years.
Okay.
And it was sent to some politicians in Boston, okay, who had never seen anything like that in their lives. And it had to do with an issue regarding the school and some other matters. So I started early, but if we base our positions in truth, fact, law, evidence, and the authority of the constitutions, and we can verify and prove that our positions are not only lawful, but
Wow.
totally valid.
Yeah.
All right. Our opponent cannot rebut those positions. They cannot rebut.
Yeah.
And Desert, we've done, I can't tell you how many presumptive letters. I mean, my God, 150,000,
I got the picture, Jack.
200,000.
Yeah, I can't get over
Yeah,
it
it's
because
just
I started in
enormous.
ancient history at age 14, so I'm relating to you as being a young kid waking up, and I never knew this part of your story, so it's really cool. Go ahead.
Well, we both at the same age. That's kind of interesting,
Yeah.
But that's when you become a man. That's when you go from boy into manhood.
In the ancient culture, it was like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So no one, I mean, let's take an average of 200,000 presumptive letters. Now, this is not all from us. These are from people over the past 6 decades, past 60 odd years, okay?
Mm-hmm.
No one has ever rebutted the claims made in a presumptive letter and supported their rebuttal in truth, fact, law, and evidence.
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
If I'm making a claim, Desert, if I'm making a claim
based on truth and fact, go ahead.
Law and evidence, okay, my opponent is required to rebut that position and base his rebuttal on truth, fact, law, and evidence. He cannot do it, so he doesn't. Therefore, they don't respond. And if they do respond, they will not respond in kind and specifically rebut anything because they can't. Now, as you know, we follow this up with an affidavit. And as you know, an affidavit stands as truth before the court. An unrebutted affidavit stands as truth before the court. And no one has ever rebutted our affidavit with another affidavit, not even once.
Yeah.
They haven't even attempted to do it.
So it's an automatic default, right?
Yes. But the position is this. The courts are diabolically evil, diabolically corrupt, and diabolically unconstitutional.
And hoping you'll argue with them somehow.
Yeah. We argue on our terms. We stay in our point. We never go to their point. We stay in our point. And we take the lead right away. Okay? Right away. So even though we have a presumptive letter that's never been rebutted and an affidavit that's never been rebutted, okay, we have to argue that position before the court in a lawful way to make sure that our positions are upheld. So if we're defendants, we'll write a motion to dismiss, and we'll write our motions based upon the valid reasons for dismissal, and we'll support those valid reasons with exhibits. Number 1, the presumptive letter, exhibit 1, exhibit 2, the affidavit, okay? And the court is, as we've said before, lawfully convenes because there's a controversy, there's something that has to be decided. That's why the court convenes. Well, if our opponent admits to everything we've ever said, okay, and doesn't challenge it at all, there's no controversy. So the victory is ours. and we win literally within 5 minutes, even some of the most important cases, okay?
Yeah.
Within 5 minutes. Some of them take a little longer. The two cases Margie had against the city took a little longer, okay?
Yeah.
The case she had against the major bank took a little longer, but they're unusual, okay? But we won them.
Yeah. Is
We
that
won
where
them.
the judge says, well, we're going to recess now, and he walks out of the courtroom when the whole deal is supposed to happen right there and be done, right?
Well, that was one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of them.
You know, and that's when they're changing the nature of the court, as I understand it, right?
Yeah, well, they try. They try.
Yeah.
But see, in a situation like that, we'll say the judge left the courtroom, and we'll go to the clerk and demand that he dismiss the case.
What he really did was abandon the ship. What, right, Jack? Isn't that it?
He abandoned the courtroom. He abandoned the case. All right.
And you took
That's the
full
violation of
control.
due
You already had the control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doesn't we scared the living shit out of them. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've been having a home run all these years, and now you're here, Jack Boots. Oh.
Well, yeah, we've had a home run, but remember, this is nothing miraculous. I mean, this is nothing that Margie and I.
No, but we've all been so dumb, none of us could do it, and you figured it out at age 14. I can't get over it.
Well, our forefathers figured out the whole thing for us a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a question of taking what they did and putting their positions in a lawful argument to win in court. Okay,
Yeah.
and the people who've really done the work, and our work is simple. It's not you've seen our work, does it? It's simple.
Short
it's
and
to
sweet.
the point.
Short and sweet.
Yes, it is uncomplicated. Okay, it's direct and to the point, and it challenged the opposition right away. Now, we got a call the other day. You know, we used to do a lot of seminars, as you know. We got a call from a guy who attended one of our seminars in Colorado. We did about 4 or 5 out there years ago, and I think he attended 2 or 3 of them. Nice guy, really nice guy. But like a lot of nice guys and a lot of people searching up in the air, cannot ground himself in anything. Okay, he looks at 40,000 things and does nothing.
Yeah.
Well, he called us up last week, and he said, "I can't believe this, but 1A, 1B, and number 2 of your constitutional court challenges are huge and the best in the history of this country." It only took him 12 years to figure it out, does it?
Yeah.
But at least he figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, some people never get it.
Yeah. Well, the thing that is coming to mind is like when, you know, I coined the term short and sweet because I've seen your work, and usually you can wrap it up in one page.
Yes.
It was typical, as I remember, in what we call the Patriot movement over the last 30 years I've been looking at it and involved in it, you know, directly or indirectly, that typically when the Patriot was sending his document to the court, it was like 20 or 30 pages of cites and laws and, you know, and this and that and arguments. And you know, that's the beauty behind what you're doing, because it really nails it down to the point of the tip.
Yes. We try to get direct to the point right away. And you're correct about 30, 40, 50 pages.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, we've seen some of these things that have come from people who actually teach seminars, who taught seminars.
And throw in a little emotion too. Forget the facts, right?
Yeah, and we're seeing like 50 pages from these people who are teaching other people, and the motions are rambling. They're off point. Very few motions are ever on point. They get off point right away. Not only do they allow themselves to be taken off point by their opposition, these arguers take themselves off point, and they get so distracted that their arguments fall into deaf ears and go nowhere, okay? Right. And believe me, does it? No judge is ever going to read a 40, 50-page motion.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen, okay? Especially if it's a rambling, ridiculous, off-point, philosophical, lecturing motion.
And it's all summed up in one maxim: arguments are for fools.
Yes, exactly. Look, we rely with certain positions, and I've given you some of them already, okay? But let me give you a few more. Any act by any legislature, any Congress, in any action by any government official either supports and upholds the Constitution or opposes and violates it. It's that simple. Okay?
Yeah.
You sum up everything in that position. Another position is all public officers have taken oaths and are required to abide by those oaths
Right.
in the performance of their official duties, which is true.
They've made a claim
Okay.
to be something, and you're expecting them to be that.
Exactly. And following up on that position, okay, no public officer or no oath taker has the constitutional authority to oppose the very documents to which he swore his oath. You can't lawfully swear an oath to a constitution this second and 3 seconds later violate that. Can't do it, not lawfully. And number 4, pursuant to all rights guaranteed in the constitutions, okay, both within the amendments and within the articles, specifically the 9th Amendment, all American citizens have the right to expect that their government officers will abide by the conditions of the above positions I just mentioned. All right? So what we do is we point out the due process and the constitutional rights violations immediately. Okay? Immediately. And the system doesn't like to hear that because the system doesn't like that. No.
Right. In other words, you're not arguing law, you're arguing who they claim to be. Is that sense?
We never argue we will go to the position if we have to, but we argue the due process violations before we ever get to the position. Okay? For instance, many times we've gone to court, all right, and our people have gone to court. And what's the first session in court is the arraignment, okay? For most people, it's the arraignment. I can't tell you how many times we won on the arraignment, all right? Because pursuant to the 6th Amendment, we have the right to face our accuser. Pursuant to Chambers versus Mississippi, which is a Supreme Court case, a defendant or a plaintiff, either one, has the right to face his accuser and confront his accuser in any and all proceedings. Well, the first proceeding is the arraignment. If our accuser is not there, if the witness is not there, the witness against us, or if the cop isn't there, we move for dismissal on 6th Amendment grounds, okay? Yeah. And we hold the judge to his oath pursuant to 1 and 8. Bang, case dismissed. But the American people don't do these
But
things.
you're the one who's actually demanding that, requiring that, because if somebody doesn't make the request, then it moves on in their procedure, right?
That's correct. That's correct. You have to take charge as an American citizen.
Yeah.
Okay? If you don't take charge as an American citizen, they will take charge of you right away.
Because they want to proceed, right? It's money.
Of course they do. Of course
Money.
they do. And they want you to understand, you know? And that's another word people have to be careful of, because there's a lot of fraud within words. As you know, Desert, you do words all the time.
Yeah, well,
So
understanding, one who wants understanding is a drunkard, a fool, and a ward of the state or something like that, based in Bouvier's Law Dictionary, right?
Right,
Yeah.
right. So we never understand anything.
That's
okay?
right.
What you understand? No, we don't understand anything. We see due process as violations as a routine custom, practice, and policy of this court. So we don't understand anything this court does except that the court acts in insurrection and sedition to the Constitution. That usually gets some attention pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We if we ever have to answer, and we don't, but if we ever were to answer, I think once or twice, maybe over 60 years we have, we say, I comprehend, but I never understand.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a difference between
Right,
those
comprehend.
positions.
Com means to communicate. Right. Pre means the full aspect in prior event. In other words, that which is first. In
Right.
hand in hand. So yeah, it's totally different than understand, standing under it.
Yeah, exactly. So if the American people were to literally be knowledgeable of their Constitution, which they're not, And if they were to use the authority of that Constitution to hold government to the strict constitutional mandates imposed upon them by and through their oaths, then we could do something different. But it's too late for America. I said 3 or 4 weeks ago, it's gone. The American country is gone. Now, it's never too late, and I agree with his position, and so does Margie. She mentioned it a little while ago. It's never too late to correct a wrong. But remember, the American people are so, and I hate to say it, but they're so stupid. They don't even know they're stupid. Okay?
Yeah.
They may be nice people. They may be congenial people. They may be friendly people, but they're pathetically stupid. And in the only two areas in which the American people do not show a lot of stupidity is in two, as far as I'm concerned. In the home life, okay, with the home and the family, okay, and in the job situation. And I would say no more than 50% in the country even qualify for those positions.
Yeah.
All right. But you take them out of those positions and they're dumb as crap.
Right. And if you can't hold one of their mantras, you're out of here, basically.
Yeah. It's a very sad situation. So we would love to see the American people wake up. We would love to see the American people grok their Constitution and be able to use it against government, but they don't. Now, when we did a lot of work in New Mexico, and we had a lot of people in New Mexico who won cases. I mean, all over the state, not only Las Vegas, based upon the methods. But as soon as we left, it was over. Okay, the leaders leave, and it's over. And we stopped doing our seminars about 10 years ago. Well, no, about 8 years ago, something like that. I think the last seminars we did were in Hawaii about 7 or 8 years ago. And all of the people who were doing well when we were teaching the seminars aren't doing a damn thing anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
The leaders leave and people forget. The memory is very short. They don't carry on. Now, some do, but most don't.
Well, most people are not leaders, Jack, right? That's the truth.
Yeah, they're not. But, we all could be our own leaders.
Yeah.
We don't all have to depend upon other people, okay, to tell us what to do. We have to be able to look into material ourselves, look into factual positions, seek the truth, okay? Have some interest in understanding what the hell is going on, truly understand. And then make a search for truth, search for facts, search for evidence, and see reality as it is. And stop listening to everyone else. Stop listening to propaganda. Stop listening to programming and conditioning, which is everywhere, okay? And develop a mind. Develop a way of thinking. And not only a way of thinking, but a way of thinking outside the box and further acting upon that thought to create something different, okay, for yourself. That's where we would like to see the American people go. But, I mean, you know, over your lifetime, you've done a lot of people. How many people would you say qualify for that?
Jack, I'm amazed at how many friends I've lost and how few I have,
Yeah. I know, it's a shame. Once you start talking truth and reality, people don't want to know you. They want to get away from you as fast as possible.
Yeah.
It's a very unfortunate situation.
Right. People are going in all different directions, and the only one they can go is within, and therefore they're caught up in the illusions of our time, and so that's in simple terms the way I see it.
Yes, they're caught up in too many illusions, fantasies. How many people believe so much nonsense? It's pathetic. I mean, even look. Let's talk about the so-called patriot movement for a moment. Okay, the patriot movement has been around since Roosevelt. All right, FDR.
Wow, that's taking away back, Jack, because when I got in about 1990, I knew I was a latecomer. I made friends with people like Dr. Eugene Schroeder, agricultural movement. They drove the tractors to Washington in the 1970s. But
Yes.
I knew I was a latecomer. That was in 1990, 30 years ago, basically.
Sure. Sure.
And these veterans were trying to save America, like you are, Margie, and yet they didn't do it. They couldn't do it, and they're already now gone to the grave. So
Yes.
so it's an
Yes.
amazing cycle that we see going here.
It is an amazing cycle. And the position is that Roosevelt was such a communist, such an absolute communist, as is most of our government today. Okay. It may not be called communist in name, but it's communist in action.
Yeah.
And as we've said before, the first tier of the Communist Party in America is the Democrat Party, and the second tier is the repugnant Kant Party.
That's a good one. But nonetheless, whether you call it communist,
Yeah.
fascist,
Oh,
oligarchy, it's all the same group of people.
it's all combined. It's all combined. But they use communism and socialism as a lost leader to bring people in.
Divide and conquer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my God, if anyone really studied communism, why in God's name would anyone ever espouse communism as a philosophy to create an egalitarian state?
Yeah, Bolshevik means majority, and literally it was 100 kites out of New York, funded by Chase Manhattan Bank, that took over and destroyed the Nikolai, the Romanov family, and took over Russia and destroyed millions of people. 50 million, was it?
Oh, much more than that.
More than that.
Much more than that. Between Bera and Trotsky and Lenin and Stalin, the Russian figure alone is closer to 100 million.
Yeah.
Since the revolution.
They want to debate 50 million or whatever it was with Germany, Nazi Germany, when it was more like I saw the record that came out of Switzerland. It was like 50,000, and they want to talk 5 million Jews, right?
Yeah. Well, that's all bullshit. That's all propaganda, and that's the Zionists who broadcast those figures. Okay. Now, Hitler was not a saint at all, but compared to Stalin, to Bera, to Lenin, to Churchill, to Roosevelt, the guy was an absolute god. For God's sakes, he was an absolute god compared to these evil bastards that everyone is praising. I mean, it's absolutely insanity. And when you talk about communism, all right, communism is seductive because it pretends that it's a communal effort for the people against the system. Well, you know that the bankers are behind communism.
Yeah.
The bankers started communism. I mean, I hate to say this, and I hate to shock people who are listening if they don't know this, but America was essentially started as a communist nation. Now, a lot of people may not believe that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Take a look at the facts. Take a look at what happened, okay?
Well, the term
after
can
America
be morphed
became
into
nation.
Communal, right?
Yeah. Well, if you look at it, the first president, who really wasn't the first president, Adams was. We've talked about this before. But Washington established the first central bank in this country in 1791, along with his cadre of kingsmen, meaning supporting the King of England, because Washington supported the King of England. Adams supported the people.
That would be a whitewash, right?
Yeah, so he got short shift, and Washington became the first emperor and started the first central Zionist bank in this country, called the Bank of the United States. And we've had a central bank, and one way or another, ever since then. People will say, no, there was a period after Jackson got rid of the banks in which we...
Yeah, but Jack, that explains why we see a statue of Washington with his upper chest unclad, with his arm up in the air as an image of Batmofeth, right?
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I mean, the statue says a Mason and President of the United States.
Yeah.
Not President of the United States and Mason. Mason came first. So that should tell anyone where and who and what we are.
And yet they say he
Okay.
rarely attended lodge. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't believe much of what is said in
We
history.
weren't there.
Okay.
We weren't there.
No, we weren't there. And as we have found out forever, the victors write the history, and they write it pretty much as they want.
They've done a pretty good job.
Yeah, of course they have. But the communists tried in Russia for a long, long time, a long time. And it was one of the emperors who killed a movement by the Communist Party that was trying to invade Europe, okay, through a treaty. And the communists made a vow to destroy the czars, and they did, okay? And they came in to Russia. Well, I don't know how many people know this. Lenin was in Switzerland, okay? He was exiled in Switzerland. The United States made a deal with certain elements in the German high command. Remember, there was a war going on at this time called the First World War, to bring Lenin through Germany into Russia. Well, Wilhelm couldn't stand communism, certainly, didn't like Lenin, had no use for Lenin whatsoever. But he thought, as an outside position, if Lenin came in and weakened Russia, then it might be better for Germany.
Right. Was Wilhelm the Kaiser at the time?
Yes, he was the Kaiser, Wilhelm II.
All right.
Okay. And he was a friend of friends of ours. Okay, friends of ours. Well, they're dead now, but friends of ours had parents who were very friendly with the Kaiser and the Kaisaria.
Wow.
Very friendly because they were attending music school in Berlin, and they were Americans. But
yeah, well, you're saying Kaisaria, so they were the classic Jews of today, right?
No. I mean the wife of the Kaiser. I used the wrong word.
Okay.
And anyway, that's aside. That's another aside.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things that come to us directly from people who were there. Okay, not through rumor, not through innuendo, not through anything, but through firsthand direct information. And we get this from a lot of different sources. Okay. So we knew about this situation involving Lenin, which to a certain extent is out there, but the reasons for the movement through Germany is not necessarily known. But the whole movement was sponsored by the United States of America, the Zionists, and the bankers here.
The puppet state, right?
Yes. And one of, I can't call him a friend of mine, he wasn't really a friend, but a fellow I knew, who was a professor. He was a traveling professor, went all over the world, but spent a lot of time in America.
Would a traveling professor be a propagandist or what? I'm not sure.
No. He was the first president. He was the first president of Russia after the revolution.
Really? Okay.
Yes, but he was a white Russian. His name was Kerensky. Okay?
Well, most Russians are white, I think, right, John?
No. In terms of red and white.
Red and white.
Okay. The Bolsheviks and the whites, okay? And he was a white Russian, meaning that he favored a moderate takeover, okay? Instead of a whole total revolution in which everyone was destroyed as they were during the French Revolution, okay?
Just like they murdered the Romanov family. Right?
Yeah. Well, Kerensky didn't want to do that. He was the first president of Russia, and as I say, I met him at Harvard. He was a professor at Harvard for a while, and traveled to many other different places.
Man, you've been keeping secrets from me, Jack. I can't believe all this stuff.
And he would tell people the truth about what happened there. Okay, and the whole revolution was set up by the bankers in this country and the government in this country. Okay, and people wonder, why would bankers ever support communism? Because communism takes control of the government, takes control of all the industries, and gives everything to the people. Well, that's not how communism works.
No, because it was all a fraud, and even Karl Marx, who professed the communist ideology, was receiving benefits and favors from all of his wealthy friends, and had nothing to do with communism.
No. He married the a woman who was the daughter of a very wealthy banker. Okay,
Yeah, what
one of the
hypocrisy?
scientists.
What hypocrisy? Go ahead.
It's all bullshit. And Engels before him, Engels was really the master of the communist plan, but Marx got the press. And
Yeah.
right after, I've mentioned this before in this program, I believe, right after they wrote Das Kapital and the Communist Manifesto in the 1840s, Zionist Jews infiltrated this country in great hordes,
Yeah.
especially New York, Philadelphia, Boston, but also
And New
down south.
Mexico. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Also down south as well. Okay. And started the communist movement in this country right away because the communist movement worked hand in hand with the banking movement.
And they're all victims. Oh, we're so sorry. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this country is a communist nation, not overtly. Okay.
Perfected mind control, right, Jack? Go ahead.
Yeah. It's covertly a communist nation.
Yeah.
Not in name, but in practice.
Yeah,
okay?
I like the way those Cubans came over here, escaping communism, to come to the very best pastel-colored communism that money could ever buy.
Yeah, it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. And getting back to the position of people saying, why would bankers ever sponsor communism? Well, the fact is, in communist nations, it's capitalism and fascism for the rulers, and communism, of course, for the people.
Yeah.
So when Lenin and Trotsky and that whole crew, 92% of them or so were Zionists, were Jews, okay, took over control of Russia, they had the vast control of that entire nation, which was absolutely vast and extremely wealthy in materials and riches, okay? And they controlled it right across the board. The people were starved into submission. They were killed if they didn't agree. The women were raped. People were tortured. I mean, my God, it's a horror. And for people today to be espousing communism as these wackos are who are protesting Trump just shows that they don't know what the hell they're talking about and never did. Okay? They're so goddamn stupid, they don't even know they're stupid. Now, I don't mind protests. I mean, back during the day, I was a protester, but that was Vietnam and Korea. Okay? I protested Korea too and Vietnam. But we were protesting valid positions. We shouldn't have been involved in Korea. We shouldn't have been involved in Vietnam. Yeah. We spoke about Ho Chi Minh and who Ho Chi Minh was and where he went to school and what an egalitarian guy
and he loved
was.
Jefferson. He loved the Constitution. He tried to communicate and they ignored him, made him the enemy.
Yes. Our government made a deal with Ho Chi Minh, and this was the deal. You keep Japan out of Vietnam during the Second World War, and the country is yours. We broke that deal, as we break every deal. Ask an Indian how good the word of the United States is. He'll tell you not good at all. We lie to our people. We break deals. We break treaties. We have no honor as a nation. Absolutely no honor as a nation. You know, let me get into something that we talked about a little while ago, a few weeks ago. And that was foreclosure, okay? And we talked about how people were totally taken to the cleaners by foreclosure, all right? Well, as I mentioned to you, I made a lot of the predictions I make just come to me, you know, they just fly in. I don't necessarily sit down and calculate them. They just come in and I predict them. Well, back around 2004 or so, I predicted the devastating economic crash, okay? Predicted the foreclosure debacle and predicted the bailout. And people said, oh, you're crazy. Because the first figure I predicted on the bailout was $8 trillion. People said, oh, you're nuts, you're insane, you don't know what you're talking about. I said, that's only for openers. It's going to triple at least. It's going to triple. Well, tripling $8 trillion is $24 trillion. Some sources bring the total bailout now to about 39 trillion plus. Okay?
Yeah, that would stack dollar bills higher than the Twin Towers combined.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, if the government were really concerned about the people, which the government is not at all, Okay, never has been. They look at the people as cogs in a machine, and that's it.
Yeah.
But if the government were truly concerned about the people, as the government claims, then, and I'm not exonerating people in the foreclosure movement, or not the movement, but people who lost their homes to foreclosure, who double dipped. I don't exonerate them at all. I don't exonerate those who bought off more than they could chew. All right. Now that was a percentage of those who lost their homes in foreclosure. I don't have any pity for them, but I do have pity for the millions of people, honest people, hardworking people who lost their homes in foreclosure because they lost their jobs. Okay? They were thrown out of their jobs. And they were also sold a bill of goods by the mortgage companies. And unfortunately, they were stupid enough to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I have pity for those people. Okay? I feel sorry for those people. But the slackers, I don't feel sorry for at all. But if we take all of them combined, the good people who lost and the slackers who lost, let's say we've got, I don't know how many people lost, over 12 million. So let's take 12 million people, okay? If the government were to bail out those 12 million people, okay, and set up a fund for them by which their mortgage was paid, and then set up a private organization aside from the banks to receive mortgage payments from those people we bailed out, okay, we could have solved this whole thing and saved about 95% of the total bailout.
But that wouldn't
Okay.
fit their agenda.
It never does fit their agenda. But why the hell aren't the people saying this? Why aren't they asking these questions?
Yeah, they'll
This
bail
is
out
my-
Enron or some one single corporation, but never the mass of the people.
No, because the people mean nothing. The
Yeah.
people mean nothing.
They want
And the
us down.
And the people have proven their ineptitude over and over again, okay, by supporting this evil system. And as long as the people support the evil system is going to continue. Now, I greatly admire, the very small percentage of people out there, and it's minute, 1/100th of 1% in this country, who are actually trying to do the right thing by educating other people.
I thought it was
And
a
you,
thousandth of a percent, Jack, but go ahead.
it could be 1,000th of
I think
1%.
that's more accurate, but go ahead.
Yeah. I admire those people, but there's so few, so absolutely few, that you can't even measure them on any measurement scale.
No.
And they have no effectiveness.
I mean, when I was doing, law programming 7 days a week, and I did Howard Griswold, one of our pioneer researchers, we had only no more than 100 people listening in on this great, information, when there were 300 million people in America alone. 100 people listening.
I know, it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. So you can see why Margie and I retired all those years ago.
Sure.
We're just sick of it. We love America. We feel sorry for the American people. We have pity for them, but we have no respect for them. I mean, how the hell can anyone have respect for the American people?
Yeah.
When a whole nation supports evil and unconstitutional, treasonous government, and cops who kill and violate people all the time, and the military that goes over and kills brown people, black people, yellow people, and even white people. And,
they can't
and
even figure out they're being poisoned by food at the grocery store.
I know. It's too much for us, okay? It's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So as I say, we're writing our books, and you asked me about one of the books I'm writing. Hopefully it'll be out this summer. And it will deal with a lot that's going on in this country, and it will show people who lost their homes to foreclosure how they can buy another home by using very simple, very easy, direct methods.
And don't register with the city?
Register it with no one if you can help it.
Well, right. I mean, that's when you lose, when you register.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
As soon as you register it at the Department of Deeds or whatever the hell.
You become subservient.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And of course, in this country, we're supposed to be guaranteed life, liberty, and property that cannot be taken from us except by due process of law. And life, liberty, and property is taken from American people
Yeah.
all the
Well,
time without due
well,
process of
maybe
law.
because gar means war. So if you guarantee, you have waged war upon the people.
Yeah, yeah. It's pretty sick, my friend. It's pretty sick.
Jack,
But such is life.
I'm on overload, brother. I'm always honored to learn more about you and Margie all the
Always.
time. You keep secrets from me, and I haven't figured this stuff out. And then here I learn more tonight about you. You've been around a long time,
It's
and
always a pleasure to speak with you, my friend.
well, Jack, I'm trying to figure it out. And I was spoon fed on parents that had no brains and had no hearts, and literally I was just like a free range chicken, and I had to make all the mistakes to learn from them, and nobody should have to make mistakes, to learn about life. And that's the problem with all of our friends out there in America, because they are the mistake. They're the mistake because
Yes.
they were never ever told the truth about anything other than the propaganda that has been spoon fed to them from not kindergarten but preschool, basically. That's what we found in a book called what was it called? Somebody found in a typewriter, an IBM typewriter, back, like in the 1980s, a book, in a government auction. They found in a typewriter a book called "Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars," and it was one of those
Yes.
subversive documents that was not supposed to get out. And
Yes.
in there, it talked about, it was like maybe 100 pages, very short booklet, and in there it talked about how they needed to get the mom to go to work so that she would not be at home to take care of the babies, and and then those little babies could go to not kindergarten but preschool, and then they would
Yes.
be in charge of managing what they called the occupationally orphaned children,
Yes.
to
Yes, of
pre-program
course.
them, indoctrinate them, and then they be on the road to their successful demise right out the gate.
That's correct. And that's been going on in America for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very long time. And, one of our favorite sayings is the people haven't figured it out yet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is people haven't figured out what you mentioned, nor have they figured out anything else. I mean, how insane are we as a society if the society hasn't figured it out? Now, again, there are a few individuals here and there in this society and other societies who figure it out, but there's so few they don't count.
No.
They don't go anywhere.
Yeah. When they figure it out, Jack, it will be too late.
Yeah, as usual, does it? As usual.
Right.
I wish it were different, my friend. I wish it were different, and I always leave out the possibility for reawakening, but it's pretty damn slim.
In other words, all of that BS about the Mayan calendar and we're coming into a new age probably ain't going to be, right, Jack?
No, I don't think so.
I don't.
I don't think so. I don't think. If you get into that position, you could go back to the Anunnaki. We've talked about that a little bit, and the Anunnaki theoretically 450,000 years ago enslaved humans, okay, and got them to work in the mines. And they've been working on keeping humans dumb ever since then. So, I mean, we have millennia of dumbed down people that just are dealing with other dumbed down people. So by the time, I mean, my God, if you start with a genius, okay, and then you start idiotizing that genius over 450,000 years, what do you think the end result is going to be? Just an absolute fool.
Perfected ignorance.
Yeah, and I hate to say it, but the average guy is a fool. Maybe a nice guy, but my God, he's an absolute fool. You can educate a fool, but you never make the fool think for himself.
Right.
Because he's always going to buy the education.
Right. Remember, ED as an editor, and the word educate, AD in the Indo-Germanic, means to remove. So it's not what they told you, it's what they didn't tell you that you needed to know.
And they keep that very quiet.
That's right, Jack. So look, thank you so much for all of your time tonight, Jack and Margie.
Our pleasure.
And I'm
Our
just
pleasure, Desert.
overwhelmed at always learning more from such great people that have dedicated their entire lives to truth. So Jack and Margie, we'll see you next Sunday, 8
Thank
p.m.
you.
Eastern Time.
And we always learn from you, Desert, too. It's a learning situation for all of us.
Absolutely. So we'll talk to you next week, and thank you so much.
Be well, Desert.
Good
You
night.
have a good
All
good
right.
night now.
Good night. And ladies and gentlemen, you just got the forbidden history. What they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here, because somebody's got to do it. And I'm so honored to have such wonderful friends that have kept so many secrets from me for such a long time, and continually spoon feed the relevant truth that you want to hear. Right? You did want to hear that, didn't you? You got a spoon feed? Okay, well, hang in there, because when we come back, we're going to give you a little bit of the KOLBRIN, what I promised you at the beginning of this broadcast, and some more of what they didn't want you to know, but we tell right here. I need to take a break, and I'd love to hear from you. You never call in, you never say hello, but that's okay, because I know it's a pretty scary world, and we've got to come to terms with it, but you know what? We can do that. We're eternal beings, and we're not biological human beings, because humans means of the earth. It's dirt. You're not dirt, are you? Of course not. You're etheric, spirit of a higher order. And once you wake up, you can't go back, and they can't control you anymore, and then you are set free. I'm Desert Owl, thanking you for tuning in on the Forbidden History series. We'll be right back with a little more to go. You did tell your friends? Well, come on, tell your friends, ladies and gentlemen. We're giving all we got, and the rest is up to you. And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Forbidden History series. We're going to wrap it for this evening, okay? And we're going to pick it up Saturday. This is when we're going to expand our Forbidden History series. Saturday, we got Bob Gavitt going to interview me on the original thought. And so we'll pick it up right there, okay? I want to thank you for tuning in. Please tell your friends. Love to hear from you. Need your support. And that's a wrap, okay? So don't forget, if you want to know the future, you need to look for the Forbidden History right here. Good night.